All right, welcome back to I Think I'm Human Too. My name is Catherine. It has been so long since I have recorded and sat down to do an episode. I started my podcast a couple of weeks before my dad had passed, and I tried to jump back in after he had passed, and I just wasn't putting out the quality content that I wanted. And I sat down with my agency and I was like, hey guys, I'm just not doing the best that I want to be doing. And I feel like I have great content and great ideas, but the editing is not for me. And they're like, if that's the hardest part, then we got that for you. So they sent me out with a whole list and they said, get all new equipment. Here's everything you need. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello, hi, how you doing? If you are listening from any podcast system or platform that you listen on, thank you. I hope it sounds a little bit better than it used to in the past. I just want to kind of jump into the swing of things and just talk about a couple of new life changes, things that have not been addressed since my last podcast, which was, honestly, I should have listened to the last one. I know it was talking a lot about grief, and I think I did it with my brother. Anyways, so the last few months have been just so unbelievably busy in the most blessed, amazing way possible. Starting out in January, I quit my job. So I don't know if some people want to clap or boo me. That's fine. I took the opportunity to kind of take some time off when my dad passed. I needed some personal time. I was very, very angry anytime any email would come through or a phone call, and I just was not the employee that they were paying me to be. So I decided to take some personal leave, and then I decided I want to kind of continue to try social media full time. It was enough income that I felt comfortable taking personal leave because all my personal leave was unpaid, and I cannot say thank you guys enough for supporting me, whether you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or even just these podcasts. I absolutely just love the support. I'm so thankful for all of you. And you've given me the opportunity to be able to quit my job and live this life and be able to do social media full time. And I just, again, cannot say thank you enough. So that's a huge life change that recently happened. I am my own boss now, which is such a wild, wild thing to think because it's just unheard of. And some mornings I wake up and I'm like, this is my real life. So again, thank you so much. Then in February, we traveled to Europe. I scheduled a trip for my mom's birthday. She actually was going to go a couple years back, and then COVID had hit. So we rallied the troops and we did 2 weeks in Europe, which was absolutely amazing. Again, would not have been able to do that if I wouldn't have taken that. If I wouldn't have quit my job, I would not have been able to go for 2 full weeks. That's insane. So again, thank you guys for that opportunity. That's just insane to me. We traveled to Ireland, Scotland, and London. Absolutely beautiful. I was so unbelievably shocked by Scotland. So if you ever get a chance to go out to Scotland, absolutely do it. London was a shock to me. I'm just not geographically educated. Yeah. See, I don't even know the right word. So we went out there. London, I did not realize was as big of a city that it was, which was absolutely amazing. It was kind of like an older style New York, but so different at the same time. So I don't even really want to compare the two, but the size of the city shocked me because, again, I had no idea. That was absolutely beautiful. Ireland, we just drank beer all day, every day, but it was absolutely gorgeous there. I did not enjoy how cloudy and rainy it was. And they said that's just kind of how it is there. And I was like, how do you live without the sun? Even Minnesota gets sun during the negative 50-degree days. So that was fun. Came home. March was a little wild. And then April really hit hard. I went to Chicago. I took my girlfriend for her bachelorette trip. We went to Chicago. The next weekend, I was in Dallas. That is something that's new and exciting. We are looking to maybe move to Texas. We're not going to really spill too many deets there until we know for sure. But I mean, people know online that we've been talking about moving for a while. I'm getting very close to hitting 1 million on TikTok, which is absolutely insane to me. What else is new? May's been a pretty quiet month, or it's going to be a pretty quiet month. We just started May, so I cannot even believe that. We're coming up on 6 months of my dad passing, and every single day that I think of that, it's just like, where does 6 months go? And at the end of this month, at the end of May, is my 1-year anniversary to my husband, which is another, whoa, like how did that even happen? And then I go back in my head, I'm like, okay, well, it's because the last 6 months I've just been in complete survival mode, making no day feels like a day. I'm like trying to just make it through. And I feel like that's probably why the last 6 months have just felt like a complete blur. So a little update there. If you've listened to my previous episodes, I kind of talked on grief and just the things that I was not expecting. If you follow me on social media, you know, you're probably like, oh my gosh, this girl is consistently crying online. And I wanted to share my grief journey. I've said that so many times because I was not knowing what to expect. I was blessed enough to not have to ever go through a loss before. But something that sucks is my first loss was probably one of my top hardest losses that I'll ever go through, which is such a wild and just crazy thought to even have. It just was like, I mean, you lose your grandparents. I haven't lost, well, I guess I did lose my mom's grandparents, but I wasn't close with them, so it didn't feel really too much for me. But losing, like, and you're kind of prepared for that. I mean, it always hurts. Obviously, a grandparent is going to hurt no matter what. But when it's your parent, it's a whole different, you're expecting your grandparent. You don't really expect your parents, especially at my age. I'm like, I don't even have kids. None of my siblings have kids. I just feel like there was so much more life for him left to live and for me left to live with him. So it's just been a hard journey. And if you listen to a couple different podcast episodes that I did right after he had passed, I was very angry. And for good reason, obviously, that's not unexpected. But when I was explaining on my podcast, like what I was feeling, and I was kind of going through those motions of like what to expect right away, I don't change though. Like I would never go back and be like, oh, I regret putting that podcast episode out there because that's no longer true, or this, and this, whatever the case may be. But the reason I say that is because those were real valid feelings that I was having, whether it's a positive or a negative feeling, or it was good for me or not, it doesn't matter. Or if people didn't agree that, oh, you're angry right away, like that's not how it should be. Well, nobody knows how it should be. So that was kind of why I wanted to explain like how I was feeling at the moment. And I've kind of, even though I stopped doing podcasting for a little bit, I've always consistently posted on my stories on Instagram and my TikToks, and I've just kind of explained things as they're happening. It is kind of embarrassing to be crying online for sure, especially since I've never been an emotional person in my entire life, but it just is what it is. I would be bawling my eyes out randomly. The other night I was just sitting in bed. It was a wonderful day. Everything was fine, and I just lost my shit, and I'm just sitting there just bawling my eyes out. My husband's like, what can I do? Is there anything, like, what do you need from me? And I'm like, nothing. It hits just as hard. And my husband just lost his best friend, just lost his mom. And we had called him to kind of talk to him. And I had just said, I have no advice, unfortunately. And I want to tell this to you guys too, because it's something he was like, you know what? I never thought of it that way. And I was like, well, I've had a little bit of time to digest. And that's kind of where I was going with this of like, I've put things out there and I had a lot of anger right away, but now this is my new mindset. And when I was speaking to my husband's best friend about his mother, I had said, you know, at the end of the day, no sorry is ever going to be enough. So I'm not even going to say sorry. I said, I hate that you're able to relate and you're going through these motions and these feelings. But I said something that is so beautiful is the fact that we had a parent that was so loving, colorful, magnificent, radiant, and we're excited to talk about them even once they've passed. And it's a sting that hurts so bad, but it's such a good sting in the sense of, you know how many people are out there that hate their parents or their parents hate them, and they have no relationship, and when they do, they want them to pass, or when they do pass, it's almost like a sigh of relief. That's such a sad thought that there's a lot of people out there that have that, or when they do pass, there's a lot of regrets. And I said to my husband's best friend, I was like, it's such a beautiful thing that you and I both are in the same shoes of we have no regrets. And it hurts so bad because they were someone so beautiful. That is something that I will take to the grave with me. I truly believe that for absolutely anybody out there, to just be blessed with the people that you have, and to just open your eyes and realize that if you're going through such a hard grief journey and such a hard loss, you're really blessed for the simple fact that you got to have a relationship with someone, and not even just your parent or if whomever you lost. If it's such a heavy loss, it's for a reason, and it's because they were such a heavy, amazing person. Like just that deep down, like not heavy person, because that sounds like they're a negative person, but just such a beautiful loss or such a hard loss because it was such a beautiful life that they had lived. And that is one thing I had said to him is, I love knowing my dad left this earth okay, because he walked with respect, he walked with radiance, he walked with a smile, he lived his best life every single day in the most beautiful way that I could ever imagine. and he left a legacy he was proud of. And that makes me feel a lot better knowing he didn't really have too many doors left to close or sorries left to say. He left. I mean, it sucks that he left for sure. And I feel like, again, he could have had so much more life left to live. But anyways, I'm not going to ramble too much about my dad. I'm sure we'll get into a couple more podcast episodes in the future of my grief journey. But I just wanted to touch because I'm in such a different space. I'm coming up on 6 months. And if you were to listen to my podcast episodes from a couple months ago, it's a totally different world. And I was really even mad at people reaching out originally saying their story. I was like, I don't want to know your story right now. Just let me process my own. And now that I've processed my own, it's a lot easier to hear from people about their stories. I mean, I remember being at my dad's wake and someone was talking to me about how her husband had died. And I'm like, that's not making me feel any better right now. And if anything, I'm almost annoyed because it's like, I don't even have a single ounce of remorse or sadness to like show, or sympathy to even show you right now. And of course, as a person, you're like, oh my God, her husband died? You want to like hug them and be like, are you okay? Like, I couldn't even do that. I literally just smiled and was like, mm-hmm. And I was really annoyed with her at the time because I was like, stop. Like, I cannot internalize any more trauma right now. So now that I've moved on from that and I'm in a different headspace, it does get better in some ways. And people were telling me that originally too. And they were like, oh my gosh, it gets so much better. I promise. Like, time will heal. And time does not heal. I don't believe that. I will miss my dad until literally the day I die. And I know that 110%. I still to this day, when I think about him quite often every single day. I mean, there's not a single day that I don't think about him. But it's heavy every day. It has not gotten lighter. The stinging does not hurt any less. It's just that I've just gotten past that stage of like, what is life without him? I now know what life is like without him. I've been living it long enough. Again, we'll get into all this. And I did want to state that. So with this podcast, I've always said I wanted to have I should have said this at the beginning just to refresh, but I wanted to say with this podcast, how I want it to go is I've always been very engaging with my audience. I really want to hear from them. And whether it be stories, questions, however that may go. So every episode, I want to break it into 2 different parts. So whatever I want to talk about originally, and then I'll go to my Instagram and I will put out a questionnaire within the next couple of days. And I'll say, do you have any stories you want to share based on episode 1? Do you have any questions from episode 1? And why I wanted to do that is because there's so many times where you're having a conversation with a camera or a microphone, and it's so difficult because I'm just rambling, right? I'm just talking to myself. There's no going back and forth. I miss pieces of a story. Everybody misses pieces of a story. But even on a 40-minute to an hour podcast, it's still hard to get all the pieces of the story. So whether you have questions, whether I've missed gaps, whether you have a story you want to share, I want to always go to Instagram. I won't say every single time. I'm not going to say that. I never want to guarantee or promise 100%. But almost every episode will have a part 2 to just kind of follow up. And then it'll also be flipping in maybe some other things that I want to catch you guys up on life or whatever, and whatever we want to talk about. I know a lot of people want my husband on. And I'm really excited to get him on here because he has so much knowledge. His life, I think so many people would have no idea of like what he's gone through, what he's done in his lifetime. He's an amazing man with an amazing story and an amazing outlook on life. And a lot of people always ask for men's advice. I mean, there's a lot of females out there that need a man's advice. They need a man's opinion. And I would love to get Raphael on and vice versa. So I did want to touch a little bit. I had a meeting with my manager. There has been some things online that I've seen just regarding my family and some things. If you've seen the Meet Meep drama or the Meet Meep account that then spiraled into what I see as just drama. I don't really see it as anything I needed to address. I didn't address it on my social medias, and I was getting consistently harassed in my comment section, in my DMs. The amount of DMs I've been receiving is insane. I even got an email because I didn't address the situation. I still don't really know how to address it. I don't really know what to say, how to say it, and if I even want to give it time and attention. I do just want to kind of clear some air. If you know the story, that's fine. If you don't, you're probably like, what the hell are you talking about? Honestly, again, it's not even worth really going into. I just want to, from my manager's perspective, saying nothing wasn't getting me anywhere because it was actually just getting me more and more harassment. But I felt, one, I don't really care to address any online rumors because it is what it is. Like, they're going to always be there. But when it had something to do with my family, and Meet Me I consider family, it was hard. It's like, what do you say? How do you say it in a 3-minute video? And then also it's nobody's business. So I did sit down and had a conversation with her. Again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, honestly, I wish I could say the same. I sat her down, we had a conversation, and right now that's just all that I really have to say about the topic. I have decided to kind of just take some time away from my family. It's just losing someone is just a whole different dynamic, especially when you lose the glue of your family. And we're all just kind of trying to navigate our own life right now. And my family and I just aren't necessarily on the same page with absolutely everything. So I've just felt it was in my best interest to kind of take a step back and just figure out what I want out of this life, who I want to take with me continuing. And they can say the same. Like, if they don't want to have me around, that's fine. I would, with all due respect, they can choose whatever they want to do. Sometimes I think I'm going to have a full episode on just because people are family doesn't mean they're not toxic. Just because you've been family friends forever doesn't mean you're not toxic. And sometimes they could say the same about me. Like, it might not even be with malicious intent. Sometimes your actions might be good actions in your eyes, but it was toxic actions in my life. And it could be vice versa. I could have great intent with something, going in with no ill intentions and ending up hurting someone. And right now, I just think there's been so much back and forth pain, and I can't deal with it anymore. So I do want to clear the air just for anyone that really truly cares, because this is the most that I've seen. No time in my entire life have I ever asked anybody to take down any sort of anything, whether it be a post or an entire social media page. I am an adult. Everyone else out there is an adult, and they are more than welcome to do whatever they want to do. I think something that's important for me is making sure you have good intentions behind what you're doing, especially if it's going to be tying into my life that I've worked extremely hard for. So that's all I really have to say about that. Again, I've had the conversation with my family. Right now, we're just really not speaking much, which is fine. That's nobody's business. That's not even, I really just am out here living life. But I did want to address it for a couple minutes just because, again, I had a manager meeting and she was like, just due to the harassment that you're getting, we just want to kind of say, like, it's my family. So just kind of leave me alone about the situation. It's really hard to get on and speak without hurting someone's feelings or saying something wrong. I think that's another really hard and uncomfortable thing with anything being online, any social media presence. Nothing I do will ever be right, and that's totally fine. I've fully understood that. But when it has to do with my family, I go into a massive protection mode, even if they're the ones who I see as harming me. Again, there's two sides to every story, but I felt it was harmful. And even though I was hurt and I felt uncomfortable about the situation, upset about the situation, jealous about this, there was a lot of emotions going on, but I still didn't need to explain that to over 1 million people online. It doesn't matter. So no matter what, that's all I have to say about the situation. I'm sorry for anyone that saw what was going on and made their own assumptions about me being a mean girl. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I never ever once asked or told or bullied and said, you need to do this or this. So that's all I want to go with that. I'm checking the time here because I'm not trying to have this episode too long. I do want to get into I have a couple different topics that I want to go over in the next few podcast episodes. So if you go to my Instagram, in the next couple of days, follow there, and then just stay on top of stories. You can also set on like story notifications just so you can always see like what's going on and be present in these podcasts. I would truly appreciate that, because the more feedback each and every episode I get from you guys would be so beneficial to structure the future of this podcast and then continue to grow it. And I'm very excited for that, to grow this platform, because I never once intentionally started social media thinking I would have a platform. But this is the exciting part to me, to build the community, to be able to have these longer conversations with you guys, not just like a 3-minute TikTok or even a 30-second TikTok or even an Instagram post. You can't really get to know the nitty-gritties of people until you can have these full-on conversations. And I'm extremely excited to continue this in the future, of just sitting down and making it feel like we're going to therapy. That was kind of how I had said I wanted this to go. I want it to feel as if we're friends. I want you to feel comfortable in this space no matter what, to share a story or to feel relatable to somebody. I think that's something that was so intriguing to me when I started social media. I never, again, like I said, I've never thought my life would be this. And I realized how much of a community I had out there. And you don't realize how many people are out there. You see those comments all the time where it's like, oh, so I never had a single unique experience. And I'm like, that is so true, because everyone out there, there's always something relatable to you, to them. And you find your community really fast. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I want to continue that. I want to keep that going. I'm hoping eventually to start being able to do full, like, I want to start doing meet and greets and stuff like that, throwing events for my community that, like, especially if you're in Minnesota, you're going to understand this. There's not much that happens here for being such a large city as it is. You would think our industry for community events would be a lot larger. And I don't know if it's just because we have such a seasonal year here, like it's hot and then it's freezing cold for the next 8 months. So I don't know if a lot of people just don't put energy into it, but I want to start doing that eventually. That would be amazing. And I would love to start doing the, like, hosting throughout the states. If that was ever to become an option, I think I would definitely chase after that. But I got some things in the works that I really want to continue on with and really just keep growing. So I'm excited for the future there. I don't want to take this episode too long. And the only reason I want to say that is because this is my third time filming this, okay? If you can see my face right now in the camera, you'd be like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm not happy about it. So my first time I recorded, the camera died on me. Best Buy ended up selling me the wrong camera. Had to go back. Then the second time I recorded it, my SD card like started glitching. So I don't want to take this episode super, super long, because if this is like bad, I need to do it again. And I'm not happy about that. But I will start by saying I want to jump over to Instagram in the next couple of days if this is released, when this is released. And I'm going to put a couple different topics to start our next first, because I'm kind of like reintroducing myself here. I guess I should do a little bit of that. If you haven't listened to the last couple podcasts, you're more than welcome to go back. Again, remember I was in a little bit of a different headspace for the last couple times that I had done my podcast, but I'm so excited to get back. I'm so excited that I'm finally in a headspace, and it's taken me so long, especially if you follow me on social media, you're going to be like, okay, yeah. I've been posting for the last few months saying, I promise the podcast is coming back. I promise. But when I sat down to do it, I still wasn't in the headspace. And I was like, I don't want to throw one out there and then take another 6 weeks off, you know? So I really wanted to get in a good headspace and make sure that each and every week I could deliver a new episode. And I feel good about that. I mean, obviously I can't predict the future, but as of right now, I feel great. I'm excited. So I'm going to post on Instagram in a couple days about what topics we want to talk about. And whichever one wins, I will get the next episode out there. So if you're listening or watching, thank you so much again for being here. I cannot say that enough. I mean, I just wish I could hug every single person, genuinely. I just wish I could go out there and just be like, thank you for supporting me, loving me, and my family. Even after my dad had passed, I've said this so many times, the amount of people out there that didn't even just love me, but loved him, it just shows you the size of this community. So I again can never thank you enough. And that's kind of where I want to start being able to throw events or just get to meet more of you guys. I mean, you guys on the other end are really what continue and push me to grow. And I wish I could meet everyone and hug you all. So that's why I want to continue to be able to provide more for giving back to you guys, whether it be a fun event or we can start doing things in the future. So I was kind of vague, and I was going to say more, but then I realized I should probably keep it a little vague just because you know me, I'm an overshare. So I'm a little stuffy today. It is officially spring in Minnesota, and it is like one of the worst spring seasons we've ever hit. So we got a couple things coming up. I am so excited to announce some stuff in the next couple weeks. We have a lot going on. So that'll obviously always be on either Instagram, TikTok, wherever. I normally just post everything. I don't really care about my Instagram that much. I just throw it up. People are like, no, I structure every post and every story. I'm like, not me. So you normally find out the most nitty gritty, deep tea on my Instagram because I'm just like, oh, here it is. And then I'm like, oops. Anyways, but Instagram normally sees everything, absolutely everything. They get the first announcements, and TikTok is like it's hit or miss what goes on there. But Anyways, I'm going to wrap this episode up. I do just want to say thank you again for listening. Remember, everyone is human too. I want to end every episode kind of like structuring it or throwing it around and just kind of saying, wrapping it up, right? With my title of I think I'm human too, which I guess I should explain a little bit about for a second. Again, if you've listened to past episodes, I think I'm human too came because when I started my TikTok, people were like, I think you're annoying. And I'd be like, I think I'm annoying too. That was what I would always respond. And then I ended up making merch out of it. And then when I wanted to get into the podcast, I was like, what do I really want to make this platform about? And I wanted to show that everyone out there is humans, whether an influencer, a doctor, a police officer, a normal civilian. We are all humans. At the end of the day, we're all humans. So just because I'm on another side of a screen from you are, it does not mean I'm better or less. It does not mean I bleed any different color. It does not mean I have any worse or lesser problems. We all have everything to go through. And I think we're all human too, but I just wanted to kind of give that little backstory of like the backstory of how I got this name. So I think I'm human too. I think you guys are humans. At the end of the day, everybody needs to give themselves grace. Give yourself a pat on the back for making it through the day. I mean, the last couple months, literally the last 6 months of my life, every single night I get in bed, I look at Raphael and I said, I made it through the day. And that is literally how I end my night because it's just like, I made it through the day. Right now, I was in the survival mode for months and I'm finally starting to feel like I can breathe again. And I'm starting to give myself the grace to feel the feelings that I'm feeling. Again, I'm human too. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys in the future and stick with a weekly schedule. So stay tuned for our future. Bye.